The indoctrination is working! My people are being erased, and this is the only place where I can vent about it without being silenced. I don't care if this post gets deleted. I need to rant, and there is nobody in my life who will listen. If you come to this sub because you don't like watching your culture being eroded in the name of progress, you don't know how lucky you are. You get to watch what's happening on a screen, while I have to watch it happen all around me every single fucking day. My culture isn't being slowly eroded. It's committing suicide, and I have to watch my own people dancing on its corpse as they celebrate unity and integration. In case you haven't guessed, I'm Arvilai, and my entire species is a soon-to-be cautionary tale of a culture overrun and erased by the orcs. I've been courting a prospective queen for a little over a cycle, and I'm not ashamed to say that I first started pursuing her because she's one of the only people in this entire system who hasn't fallen for the universalist propaganda. I love her, and the two servants that she's already bonded to her circle seem like good people, but we're taking things slow because I was wary, with good reason as it turns out, of ending up bonded to a circle that's part of a lodge that supports the cult. We're at the point where she started sending me on errands for her lodge and giving me more of her time than her other suitors, so things were going well between us. Then, just yesterday, I was given temporary access perms to a lodge sister's home so that I could let myself in and pick something up, and that's how I found out that one of my prospects' lodge sisters is a traitor, and not just a circle stainer either, a full-on human's pet queen. I had to pass through the main room, which is how I saw my prospect's lodge sister being handled by the ugliest orc I've ever seen, the kind that makes you wonder why anyone says that the orcs look similar to Arvilai. They were watching a broadcast together, but in a more intimate way than even a suitor or a bonded circle member ever should with a queen. They whispered to each other, they touched and leaned against each other, and then they did a kiss, while I was right there in the room. If you don't know what that means, I won't describe it, because I'm starting to feel sick just thinking about it. I think she must have wanted me to see it, and I know she saw how I reacted. Even the orc probably noticed how I finished my business as quickly as I could, and left without saying a word. I can still see the forced happiness on that human's pet queen's face, trying to tell herself that she was happy with this. Trying to convince herself that she was an orc who could love an orc the way she should love her servants and outriders. Obviously, I'm going to have to talk to my prospect about this, and soon. I don't think she'll like it either, but what will that mean for her? Maybe she'll convince the rest of her lodge to exile the human's pet queen, but I have a bad feeling that they won't understand how important it is to keep that kind of thing out of a respectable lodge. And then what? Am I supposed to ask my prospect to divorce from her lodge so that I can serve her with a clear conscience? I'm scared that she would rather learn to stomach her lodge sister's mental sickness than do the right thing to protect her legacy, and that would be a deal breaker for me. This right here is their endgame. This is what coexistence looks like. It looks like me typing this and wondering if I'm about to cut it off with my prospect, who I was almost ready to pledge to. It looks like an Arvilai queen tearing her community apart by stomping on the beautiful culture that she was born into so that an orc can stroke her body and drawl on her face. Remember this the next time someone tells you it's not a big deal that every single tritidrama and broadcast has an interspecies relationship now. Remember this the next time someone tries to convince you that socio-sexual health network branches are anything except grooming centers meant to indoctrinate our young and offer them up to the ultra-predators. Don't ever let anyone tell you that what's happening is normal. We are losing, and losing fast. But there's still a chance to save something if we speak up while we can. I will never let the coexistence cult into my life. I refuse to be complicit in the erasure of my people. Please, for your own sake, consider my words. Giving your loved ones an ultimatum would be more harmful to yourself and those around you than cultural exchange will ever be. If you won't listen to me, reach out along with your prospect to those in your prospective lodge who might be closer to the lodge sister whose home you visited. Let that be what you discuss with your prospect, instead of urging her to, as you call it, tear her community apart. If you like cultural exchange so much, Why don't you go out to an orc and give it and all 10 million pathogens in its microbiome a big sloppy kiss? Why don't you let one of them babysit your offspring while they watch a socio-sexual health network instructional video together? What's that? You don't want to? Then stop telling the entire galaxy that we have to. All 10 million pathogens. Funny how you bring up human illnesses when there are countless illnesses you Xenos carry that we have no defense against. I had to take at least 15 different shots before I could even be approved to leave Earth, because human safe areas have at least that many species with compatible pathogens that could infect and decimate my lungs, my liver, my stomach lining, etc. We're not indestructible machines of war, we're not walking infection vectors any more than you are. We're delicately balanced biological life forms that can die from scratching ourselves on a rusty nail. Ah, so you live in an integrated zone? I intended to visit one last cycle, but I had to abandon plans due to a schedule conflict. 15 species certainly is a high number. The one that I planned to visit was barely half that. I'm glad to hear that so much progress is being made in that area, especially considering the challenges as you describe them. And yes, the infection vector misconception is one of the most insidious. The problem, I suspect, is a combination of the massive Terran population and the fact that few species are long-lived enough to remember that similar issues were present with other additions to the assembly. You would think that the public would be receptive to distribution of human immunizations. The Galactic Peace Union's anti-inoculation movement is perhaps one of the greatest obstacles we xenoscience educators face today. I work and live on an intermediary space station, one of the jump stops between Sol and 3 other systems that I don't know the names of. In my kind of terms, we would define the station as international waters, not owned by anyone with an agreement to peaceful co-use. Suffice to say, there's plenty of places I can't go due to toxic, for humans, atmosphere requirements, for specific species, higher gravity, and a myriad of other conditions that would render me unable to continue living. Then there's some Xenos that, through no fault of their own, are somewhat hazardous and need the same conditions as us humans. This one somewhat plant-like person I ran into triggered an insanely bad hay fever and asthma attack, and that's not even from a disease, but my own body overreacting. Again with the hate! I'm sick of being told about hate every time I try to speak up. I'm just so fucking sick of everyone telling me that I'm crazy, that all of this is my fault, that if I just bent over and let the humans take whatever they want from me and my people, everything would be just fine. You know what? Fine. I hate the fucking orcs. I hate the drooling fucking excrement-covered cannibals that you worship like I've never hated anything else in my life. Is that what you want to hear? Does that make you feel like you're on the right side of history? Well, good for you. When you finally understand what you've done, don't you dare pretend that you didn't know what you were doing. At least you'll get to feel like a good person who supported coexistence and progress, while Socio-Sexual Health Network teaches the next generation the best way to expose their orifices for an orc's breeding pleasure. Oh, buddy, you aren't ready to hear about vegetarians or asexual humans, are you? I can't blame you for being scared of us. Our history is bathed in blood and violence. But the reason we're still around today and haven't consumed ourselves in war is one thing. Love. So hate my kind all you want. Hell, take up arms and go crazy. But I'll still love you. I'll still stitch your wounds, feed you when you're hungry, and put my body on the line first. Look up the Voyager message to the cosmos. It is from a time of great wonder and strife in our history, but I think it will at least make you a bit more hopeful about humans. Peace and love from one distant human, my fellow Sophont. I'm sorry, Auto-Response System struggles to interpret your search request, and so will be displaying what it has found in this image log of feces-coated cannibals from the Historical Society, the Fiction Repository, and your previous request for said photos. Have a nice day. Auto-Response System version, bug prototype, do not activate. OP, I want you to know that no matter how many brigaders and tourists show up here to spout their usual drivel, I'm in the same situation as you, and I support you. The media, the schools, the politicians, we're being attacked on all sides, but as long as there's still something of us left to protect, we can protect it. My queen divorced our circle from a lodge because it was full of traitors, and it broke everyone's hearts, even mine, but it was necessary. Some of them were good people, most of them even, but the fact of the matter is that staying in that traitor lodge would have meant supporting the cult, We were building empires before the orcs learned how to build mud shacks, and they know it, and that's why they won't let us be. You're not hateful for refusing to be ashamed of who you are, and you're not ignorant for resisting their propaganda. I knew I recognized your username. You're the Progress Coalition's scientist who keeps showing up to waste our time with lies about how Earth is a peaceful and beautiful place that has nothing but nice things to bring us. Your people reproduce asexually. Ours needs traditional families in order to maintain population. Every interspecies union is a chip at the foundation that ensures our continued existence as a species. Betray your people all you want, believe ours alone. Lies about how Earth is a peaceful and beautiful place. Right, as if your home planet doesn't have threats that are easy for your kind to deal with because you evolved there. I can think of at least 3 separate animals from the galactic data archives of your cradle world that would quite possibly kill a human in a single bite. The Nextrasolaris' bite contains elements that cause severe paralysis, for example, but they stay away from Arvalai because if there's one of you, there's always more, which means less food for the animal and less places to hide. Just because you've evolved safety measures for the threats of your homeworld doesn't mean they don't exist, and making out like Earth is some especially dangerous death world as an excuse for your speciesism is just deplorable. I don't think a Nextrasalia is like that. Mine is a very good boy and would never. That said, the venom in very small doses is an amazing painkiller and quite a pleasant trip. Regards from the Firesphere, and me and Mr. Fluffins send you our kindest. You're right that it's not my business, but I have to admit this gave me a chuckle. Like I said, I've seen the trouble that queens have with trying to be in a human relationship. The fact that I serve a lot of large lodges means that when I think human queen pairing, I think human being bonded into a circle and being treated like a non-breeder. That sounds pretty bad, but it's not as hard to work out as you'd think. I suspect that OP walked in on a queen learning how to make a human happy as a bonded member of the circle. It's not like there's some ancient law banning queens from doing the stuff humans like to do, but for obvious reasons it isn't normally on the table. I don't slop all over the faces of the queens I congress with, and you best believe a servant or outrider wouldn't even think about it. My advice to any of your friends who pursue these kinds of relationships is to remember that servant is kind of a misnomer. They're not slaves, worker drones, or employees, and they especially aren't your slaves, worker drones, or employees. A queen has to fall in love with her bonded non-breeders almost as much as vice versa for the bond to work out in the long term. They are her lovers just as much as you are. That's why it doesn't work out with most humans. They think they're special, and they are special, but not special in the way they want to be. The ones that do figure that out are some of the happiest people I've met. The ones who don't, well, they leave and they make sure to kick up a hell of a dust cloud on their way out. Would I be the arsehole if I made my prospective mate leave her woke coven? He had us in the first half. Not gonna lie. Christ, right? I was prepping to don my mod hat for a second. So as you can probably tell, this is a unique story that requires some audience participation. Feel free to continue that in the comments below. Have fun.